In this clip, we'll see how math can be used to look back in time, like a time machine. Well, maybe not quite that cool, but we will see how the simple interest formula can look backwards to answer questions like, if somebody has $10,000 today, how much did they start off with in the past? In other words, what was their principal that they invested? Here's an example of a problem that requires us to look backwards. Carly put her money into a savings account with an interest rate of 6% per year. After 6 months, the interest earned was $50. How much money did she initially invest? Any question that's asking us to solve for what somebody initially invested is talking about the principal. And if you'll remember our simple interest formula, it looked something like this. We had I for interest was equal to P, the principal, times R, which is the rate, times T, the time, or the amount of time that it sat in an account, gaining interest. So we know we're going to be solving for P this time. So we need to come up with a value for I, R, and T. The first number I see in the question is 6%. The percent is a clue that we're talking about a rate, and that'll be our R. The next number I see is 6 months. Now the months is important. We're definitely dealing with time here, but simple interest calculations require the time to be in years, and that's in months, so I'll have to do a bit of converting later. And finally, the interest earned was $50. Interest earned is talking about I. There, we've got our three variables. Let's list our givens. The first number we found was 6%, and that's a rate. The next number was 6 months, and that's our time. Now I'm going to say M right beside it just to indicate we're talking about months. And finally we had I, which was the $50 in interest that had been earned over 6 months. Before we can go ahead and start calculating and solve for P, the principal, we need to convert our rate into decimal and our T, the time, into years, and that's step 2. Converting 6% to decimal is just a matter of writing down the number we've been given and then dividing it by 100. So I'm going to get an answer of 0.06. 6% converted to decimal is 0.06. Now I went a bit quick there, but if you're having trouble with that skill, please check out an earlier mini clip called Converting Percent to Decimal, and it'll outline the procedure in a little bit more detail for you. Next up is this T. In order to convert 6 months into years, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to divide whatever T I've been given by 12 months. And 6 divided by 12 is 0.5, or 1/2. To solve for P, I'm going to go ahead and start plugging in values for I, R, and T. So our I was given as $50 equal to P, that's the unknown this time. The rate we just converted in step 2, it's 0.06. And the T, the time, we also converted, which is now 0.5, or half of a year. Next, I'm going to simplify this equation just a little bit. I'm going to clean it up by multiplying 0.06 times 0.5. So I'll bring in the calculator for that. 0.06 times 0.5. And I get an answer of 0.03. So that's going to look something like this. 50 P 0.03. The reason I did that is so now I can do one nice little operation to solve for P and isolate it. I have a 0.03 here multiplying the P. I want to isolate P, so the opposite of multiplication is division. I'll divide both sides by 0.03. .03 over 0.03 will cancel, and I'll be left with P equals 50 over 0.03. 50 over 0.03, I'll use the calculator for that. 50 divided by 0.03 and here's my answer. I'm going to round this off to 67 cents. $1,666.67. And I'd like to express my final answer with the variable on the left-hand side. So I'm just going to do a flip and say P is equal to $1,666.67. And that's my final answer. And finally, my concluding statement says this: therefore, Carly initially invested $1,666.67. And that's my problem solved. And now let's see if you can follow generally the same steps with a practice problem here on the right side. I'll present a problem to you and you can try it out on paper, and when you're ready, I'll post the solution below. Here's your problem. After 24 months in a savings account, a deposit earned $100 in interest. If the interest rate was 8% per year, how much money was initially invested? Okay, try that one. And here's your solution. The principal was found to be $625, found by first in step 1 listing our givens, then in step 2 converting our percent to decimal and our months into years, and finally we plug in our values for I, R, and T and solving for P. The principal is $625.